Business leaders and intellectual business community, we meet again in CEO Reference Program. Today we will talk about the article of Harvard Business Review of May 2005, and the topic will be how business schools lost their way. Actually, what is the problem presented by the two professors of USC? Here, the Warren Bennis and James O'Toole, two professors of University of Southern California, mentioned about something is very real that I experienced myself here in Indonesia as well, that the graduates from MBA school are not now able to cope with the current demands of the business environment, or the company's demand on what capability they expect from the MBA graduates. More and more MBA graduates are, learning in the MBA school, learning more on the theoretical rather than what are applicable on their jobs. So this trend also seen in United States and other places as well. I think that the MBA graduates shifted from those who are really applied knowledge to the more on the theoreticals, and then they enter the companies with more theoretical mindset, but not really ready to be applied in the work environments. And the CEO of companies more and more complaining about this trend, and they think they expect more on how the MBA graduates can contribute more directly into the work environment to their companies. Why this topic is important for you as CEOs and the business leaders? Because often you as CEO and business leaders send your employees, or even maybe you yourself wants to go to MBA course, but maybe what you get will not be as you expected. Maybe the employees that you sent to MBA schools, and then when they graduated, you find that they are not as the originally what you expect them to be able to do after they graduate from the MBA schools. Now I have a guest, an honorary guest from Malaysia. That is a Professor Dr. Zabit Haji Abdul Razak, or we call him Datuk Zabit. Datuk Zabit is the President and Vice Chancellor of University Tun Abdul Razak, and he is also the CEO of Tun Abdul Razak Education and Foundations. Welcome, Datuk.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here, and I hope this program can be also used as reference for you as CEOs, and also for the MBA schools in Indonesia and in Malaysia, so that we can have a better alignment between what is expected in the business society and the business schools. Okay, because Datuk Zabit is the president of University Tun Abdul Razak, which is one among the top 10 private university in Malaysia, that is also having the business schools, very well-known business schools in Malaysia. So we have a good chance to review all these things with Datuk Zabit. The idea of Professor Warren Bennis and James O'Toole, we check again with the reality of what's happening in Malaysia, and also I can share also what is happening in Indonesia. Okay, Datuk Zabit, here in the article, the mentions that the problem, what I have explained, the problem that there's no alignment, or less and less alignment between business school graduates and then the demand of the business environments or the company's demand, is contributed by several factors. One of the factors is that the professors in business schools now are more and more academicians rather than practitioners. So previously in the MBA schools, they try to link between the reality in the fields and the theoretical side, and they use a lot of practitioners. But then the trend is in the business schools, more and more professors are coming from academicians that has little or no experience in the real business environment, and it is very different with the school of medicines or school of laws, where those who are teaching in that schools are also practicing. So they really see the patients, they really see the clients, and they really engage in the real current business challenges that they can teach, or they can coach the students to be able to cope with the real conditions or the real problems. So what do you think, that does this trend also happens in Malaysia, that more and more business schools having more and more professors from academicians rather than practitioners?
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bayu, for inviting me to have an opportunity to share some ideas about this important area. In particular, we are talking about developing quality human capital in the business sector.
Right.
Now, certainly, we cannot disagree that the views by Warren Bennis and O'Toole on the article, the fact that business school is not able to cope with the expectations of the industry.
Right.
This view is actually raised because many business leaders appear to be disappointed on the outcomes of these young graduates of MBAs who have very high expectations. Among others, these young graduates expect that upon completion of the MBA program, they will be able to lead departments or divisions, and whereas their experience or knowledge is still limited. Now, this is not just an American phenomenon. If you look in Europe, this phenomena is also similar. In Asia, in particular in Malaysia, and I believe, as you mentioned, in Indonesia, we still have this problem.
Right.
Now, we have to understand why this is happening. Among the factors that is very important contributing for this is the fact that business school or MBA program was started only about 50 years ago. It was started in 1959 by Harvard Business School to train quality managers to cope with running an efficient and effective organization. It was meant to help those people running enterprises in the 1960s at that time to do well, to perform. Now, what we have found is that in late 50s and early 60s, the economic environment was very much of, I would say, have little changes. The dynamism of the business environment was not rapid in terms of technological changes. So, teaching the business people was relatively not so difficult because of the less dynamism. But in the last 30 years, with technological changes, rapid ICT, communications in broadband, e-commerce, the business sector realized that they had to cope with very rapid and dynamic changes. Now, apparently, you find that in the business school, there are people who is not able to cope with these rapid changes, and this is where you find that there is a gap between what is taught in business school and what is happening in industry.
What you mean is that the problem is not that more and more professors are from academicians, but rather than the changes in an environment. I mean, the composition of the professors from academicians and from practitioners are still the same throughout the time.
No, in the last, I would say, when business school MBA was started 50 years ago or even 40 years ago, it was okay to have the business professors understanding about the business environment. But in the last 10 to 15 years, you realize that the dynamism in the business environment is so rapid, and businessmen also have difficulties to cope with it, and certainly business professors also have similar problems in trying to cope with this dynamism.
Which part of business professors that have this problem? I mean, the academicians or the practitioners? I mean, if the practitioners,
I think
they are
both.
coping with everyday's life, you know, of their.
Okay,
You know.
the businessman is in the battlefield.
Uh-huh.
Okay, they are in the battlefield and they face this every day, the war. Now, as far as the lecturers, the professors are concerned, they will hear this either from the newspaper, from the
Right.
students they met, and even their interactions with business people. But they are not in the battle. They are maybe in the, what do you call that, the battle room station.
Right.
Okay.
The control room.
Yes. So they will hear from their regiments, from their colonels, on what is happening on the ground. Right. So, but by the time it is reported to these professors, you know,
It was over.
it was already over.
Uh-huh.
So this is one of the biggest challenge that academia face
Yeah.
today. Professors.
The
Yeah.
academic professors.
Yes.
Facing problem about this.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Zabit, we have to break for a while, and then we will continue for the second segment of these discussions. Business leaders and intellectual business communities, we have to have a little break, and we will come back after this. For you who wants to participate, please SMS to 08966, sorry, 0899999 6 times 9 788. We'll break for a while.